One of the most asked questions or topics that I get in all of my comments, all of my DMs, every conversation I have is, what do you use on your vocals? By the way, I got this stand thanks to the G1 Butterfly guitar stand. They sent me this. This is not sponsored or anything, but they sent me this, and I actually really like it. It's basically a guitar stand that is super low key and low profile, and it's easily transportable, so you can take it anywhere. So usually my guitar has a humidifier and is in its case all the time, but when I'm playing it, I don't really have somewhere to put it while I'm producing. So this stand is actually really nice because it just kind of folds up like this and brings a carrying case and is super thin and lightweight. But it's sturdy enough to feel confident that my guitar is actually in a safe spot. So anyways, if you're looking for something like this, highly recommend it. I really like it. It's a lot less bulky than some of the other stands that you can find. This guitar recording is just supposed to kind of fill up the background a little bit. That's why it has so much reverb and are just like really chill. Also recorded these other ones, but I don't know if I'm gonna use it. But I think I'm probably not going to use that. I'll keep it here just in case I decide to. But I think we want to go really simplistic and minimalistic in this one. Okay, let's get some vocals. Don't say it if you don't mean it. I'm tackling goalkeeper, taking dives for you. Don't lie to me, 'cause your promises, they keep falling short and I'm tiring. I'm moving on. Don't say it if you don't mean it. I'm tired of playing goalkeeper, taking dives for you, giving you everything that you wanted. Oh yeah. Your promises to keep falling short and I'm tiring. I think we're going to keep the production for this one really, really simple. I don't think we need anything other than a guitar for this. I don't want any percussion. I don't want like the guitar sample itself is very percussive, and the actual guitar that we recorded really just fills it up a little bit. I think this one can be like a straight up acoustic song where the vocals really shine and carry the song. By the way, this song is out now, so I'll put a link to it in the description. Follow me on Spotify if you want to hear new releases on a regular basis. One of the most asked questions or topics that I get in all of my comments, all of my DMs, every conversation I have is, what do you use on your vocals? Now, I have so many videos where I talk about different vocal chains and things that I do on my vocals, but I figured today I would share just a long list of my go-to vocal plugins this year, the way that I'm producing my music. I feel like as a producer, you tend to go through phases where, you know, I can tell you exactly in 2020 what kind of things I was putting in my vocal chain. Some of those things are not in my vocal chain anymore now in 2024. So I figured it would be nice to share a list of my go-to vocal plugins that I'm using today in actuality as I release music almost every single week. So the first one is the Waves CLA 76. It is a compressor, and typically I use this at the beginning. It's usually like the first compressor I use on my vocals. It's a nice way to kind of get things a little bit more tidied up before you do a little bit more heavy compression with series compressors after that. I love the way this one sounds. It's modeled after hardware equipment, so it kind of has a little bit of character to it when it compresses. A lot of vocals that we hear on hit records throughout decades of music have been compressed through something like this. during recording through hardware. So I really like it. I also like how simple it is. You have 4 knobs, and that's basically it. There's also 2 different styles to it, so you can get a little bit of a different character between the bluey and the blackie. I tend to go with the blackie for that first round of compression. The next plugin I want to talk about is RVOCs. I've talked about this a bajillion times. If you haven't heard of RVOCs, then you're living under a rock. RVOCs is one of those goats when it comes to vocals. It has some sort of magic to it where it only has 3 knobs, a gate, the compressor, and then the gain. It just has something about it and makes it so easy to compress vocals and get a great sounding compression out of it. With that being said, that whole suite of Renaissance plugins from Waves is awesome. I also use our compressor on my vocals a lot. Usually that's the 3rd compressor I have on my vocal chain. It has a little bit more controls here, like the attack and the release, but it also has a really great character to it. There's also like R-Bass and all these other Renaissance plugins, so I would check those out. The Renaissance collection inside of Waves is great. These are 2 of them that I use hands down on every single production, no matter what. Okay, one thing I have not been able to live without, just because, let's be honest, you record a vocal, you're excited about it, no one wants to go in and edit all the breaths out of your vocal, or at least edit them to be a little bit quieter when you do want to include them in your song. This plugin by Isotope is called RX8 Breath Control. Hands down, can't live without it. It makes my workflow so much easier. I don't have to go in and actually remove every single breath, and I can control what I want it to filter out. So hands down, love this. It works really well. Obviously, if you're recording your vocal very softly, then it might become a little bit more difficult to get the gate right for it to capture the right decibel level for your breaths. But for your average vocal, this is such a cheat code to get those breaths edited out without having to go manually into every single breath. In that same suite, the RX8 from Isotope, I like using mouth declick, especially where I like to boost the high end and get very airy and crispy vocals with the type of music that I'm recording. And so it's very common to hear some of those mouth clicks, just the natural sounds that your mouth makes when your tongue is moving inside of your mouth, and saliva and teeth and everything. And sometimes those can be very, very distracting. This next plugin I've actually just recently added to my workflow. I purchased it like in the last 2 months. It's called Soothe 2. This has obviously taken over the producer industry. Everybody knows about Soothe 2. It can be used for de-essing, but I tend to use it just to make my vocals a little bit easier to listen to at the end, kind of attenuating some of the frequencies that are a little harsh and kind of poking out so that it's a little bit easier to listen to your vocal and you're less likely to get ear fatigue as you're hearing it. So I've been using it. It has a ton of presets in here. You can use it for other things, not just vocals. I think vocals is probably the most popular use case for this plugin, and it's just great. Then we have Saturn 2. It's a saturation plugin. I've been using this one for years and I just love it. It has a unique quality to it on how it adds the saturation to whatever you put it on. I use it mostly for vocals, but sometimes I'll use it on other things like bass because you can actually channel the frequencies that you want to affect with the type of saturation that you're putting on there. On the same line of saturation, I also really like using Magma BB tubes, and this is what it looks like. It has 2 knobs. That's really all I mess with here. I haven't really messed with any of the other knobs in here, to be honest with you. There's the Beauty and the Beast. So I use it for vocals, usually on my vocal bus, so that then it affects all of my vocals and adds just like that little crisp and pop. I noticed that if you add Beauty, it kind of adds a little bit more crisp to the high end. And if you add Beast, it kind of adds a little bit more to the mids. So it makes it kind of pop a little bit more in the mix if that's what you're looking for. With any saturation plugin, it's easy to overdo this, so don't get crazy. A little bit goes a long way with this. One of the easiest saturators I've ever worked with. Another one that I like to use on my vocal bus is H-Comp, and I'm very subtle with this, but I just add it on top of all of my vocals through that vocal bus to add a little bit more character and a little bit more glue to the vocals. The big thing about this plugin is knowing that there are 4 settings here that are modeled after different analog sounds. So the sound of it from a style standpoint is very different from these 4 settings. So typically I find that 2 and 4 are my go-to. 3 is a little bit more subtle. One is kind of just more of like your average, just a little bit of compression. Adding this to your vocal bus can really help glue your vocals together and help them kind of pop and sit in their own space in the mix. Lastly, another plugin that is my go-to is really just actually this suite of SSL plugins from Waves. There's this SSL channel. It's just your standard EQ, but it has a little bit of character to it. This isn't a visual EQ, so it's kind of hard to tell, but audibly you can hear that just the way that things are scooped out, whether it's in a bell or in a shelf, this EQ just does a really good job. Personally, I love being able to see what I'm doing, so I like visual EQs, but this one just has a great sound to it. Same if you go with the SSL comp and the SSL EQ, they are fantastic to work with. So definitely experiment with those if you're looking for some new EQ and compression. So there you have it, guys. Those are my go-to vocal plugins that I'm using on a regular basis on all of my productions. By the way, if you want to hear this song, it came out this week, so check the link in the description. Follow me on Spotify if you want to see new releases on a weekly basis. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future videos. And as always, if you ever have any questions or want to see more content, check me out on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. Keep making beats.